What's going on with you, my loves? Always sending you peace, blessings, love, and abundance your way. I really trust that you guys are having a beautiful day today. The sun is shining here, and even if the sun is not shining outdoors, I know that you are still allowing your sun, your light to shine, being the stars that we all are. Today, I want to get into the link between forgiveness and emotional intelligence. And speaking of forgiveness, I'm speaking of forgiveness of self. I have done a video about this before, and it came to me this AM that I needed to do another video about self-forgiveness or forgiveness of self, just how important that is in order for you to really, in order for all of us to elevate and move on in life and to grow, because if you don't forgive yourself, you're going to be stuck. So and also talk a little bit about emotional intelligence and how that ties into forgiveness, how it actually helps you be able to forgive. Okay, so I took some notes. Like I said, this AM, it came to me, the sunrise, and I had to run a few errands. And then when I came back, I said, let me go ahead and, after I meditated, do the video. So forgiveness of self, it is vital, and it is a vital step in moving forward, like I said, to the next level. It allows you to shed the excess weight that you have been carrying this lifetime and also previous lifetimes. Okay, because I did a video about karma, the reincarnation process, and things like that, and why we continue to come back on this plane in the physical dimension. And I talked about how that is due to some other factors besides karma, which people see karma as this good and this bad thing. So either you did good or you did bad. If you did too much bad, you have to come back and repeat it. When really karma is not good or doing good or bad things. It's more about unresolved things. So you might have unresolved issues with situations of abuse, whether it be abusing drugs and alcohol or whatever. But it's something that you didn't resolve, that you keep repeating in each life cycle. And also it could be some things that you wish that you would have achieved in previous lives, and until you achieve that thing in the physical, you can't move on to the next stage. So it's different things with that, so I won't really get into it too much, because like I said, I've already done a video about that. Not saying I won't expound on it, because the way that it works, at least for me, is I might do a video on something like 2 months ago, but the universe has revealed to me a deeper meaning or some more information to it, so I'm able to provide additional information. It's kind of like in school, where you start doing math or learning math at let's say like the first grade. Really, it's kindergarten. You start to count and everything, and then the first grade you get the next level of math, the second, the third, and so on and so forth. It's the same thing when it comes to our spiritual development and our spiritual journey. We're always going to keep evolving and keep learning more information as we continue to grow, and as we keep continue to open ourselves up for the universe to basically give us information so that we can share it, not only for ourselves but also share it with one another. So I'm gonna jump back into it. So it is also important in breaking the cycles as far as forgiveness. We keep, like I said, repeating these cycles in order to close or end the involuntary reincarnation cycle. And the reason why I call it involuntary, if you're an old soul, that means you have incarnated thousands and thousands of times. So you have been there and done that, and been there and done that. So if it's involuntary, it's because you're coming back, because there, like I said, there's some things that you still have to resolve in self in order for you to move on to the next level. Now, non-forgiveness of self creates what I call, this is something I coined. I didn't Google and see if there's an actual term for it, but I call it multiple identification disorder. Okay? Meaning we take on the identity of the act or the acts we committed, or the act or acts that were committed against us by other people, i.e., some type of addiction, child abuse, incarceration, whatever it is that we might feel embarrassed or shameful about, because people get embarrassed or feel shame about, things that they did. That's why they hide it, because they feel like they're going to be judged about it, because you're judging yourself about it. And also acts that were committed against us, like if you were molested or something like that, you take on the embarrassment of the perpetrator, even though the act was against you, but you still take it on. So yeah, any of those things can cause for you to create multiple identifications. All right. And I'm going to get into more what I mean by multiple identification disorder. Non-forgiveness means we most likely blame ourselves, like I said, for what we deemed I didn't say this part, for what we deemed a failure on our part. Because even if you were a child when it happened, you for some reason feel like you should have been able to prevent it, or maybe if you had done this. It's all these maybe scenarios. Maybe if I did this, maybe if I done that, maybe. There is nothing that has happened to you or myself that wasn't meant to happen. And this is not to excuse and say, oh, what that person did to you was righteous, because that doesn't make it righteous. Okay? The act could still be an unrighteous act. However, it was something that was meant, that was divinely coordinated to happen in order for you to work through some things that you needed to get through during this particular incarnation. And it's just those roadblocks and things that we go through in order to make us come out a very strong person, and also a very wise person, because with experience comes wisdom. So when we start to look at it on that way, not excusing the act, however, getting more of an inner and understanding of why those things happen in our lives is not really just necessarily all the time for the person to understand understand at the time that it happens. However, it's for you to get to a point where you can have some type of forgiveness of yourself and resolution within yourself for the act that was done against you. You know what I'm saying? Or the act that you committed at the time. It's not for you to define it and take on those characteristics and identify yourself as, hello, I'm an alcoholic. Hello, I am a victim of child molestation. Hello, it's not for you to do that, because when you say I am are very, very powerful words. That's why, in the Bible it says I am that I am. Now, when you know that you are you're a God or source living out a human experience, that is who you are. You are a spiritual being that is operating on a human level at this point. And it is not for you to take on these different identities, because what that does is that helps with that actually perpetuates the amnesia. The amnesia of you knowing who you are and who you walking in, who you are. And you'll continue being in the illusion and having the blinders on, so to speak, and that's why multiple identification disorder is a disease that's impacting and affecting all of us. However, you have to take it one step at a time and release it. And during this Venus retrograde, this is a great time, because Venus is in Scorpio. This is a great time to start dealing with that. Is going into your underworld, going into, the depths and crevices of your very being. Just keep digging and digging and digging and seeing all the things that you have not forgiven of yourself, which is impacting your love life, which is impacting your relationship with others and your relationship with yourself. You know what I'm saying? This is that time for you to really like start to pull all that stuff out of your closet and deal with it. Forgive yourself once and for all for it, so it won't keep coming back and it won't keep impacting every relationship that you get into, whether it be, with another person, or relationships with your family or your friends. Like, those same things won't keep coming up anymore because you finally put them to rest. You know what I'm saying? You finally were able to purge it out of your life. Now, where was I? So I'll speak on one of the things that I'm pretty sure I've talked about it in previous videos. One of the things that I had to forgive was my mother's transition, because even though her pill addiction started when I was a little girl, me and my sisters were very young, I still had that sense of blaming myself for her deciding that was her coping mechanism. And also that was past life things and addictions, because her father had an addiction to alcohol. And so it was generational in this lifeline and in past lifelines. So instead of, because I didn't have the inner knowledge of I have a self now, I did blame myself for that. I felt like, okay, I could have done more and fought for her harder so that she could still be on this physical plane here. And if she was meant to be on this physical plane still with us, she would be here. And it took me going through the things that I've gone through for the almost not for the 9 years she's been gone. And 9 is a very significant number. If people are not aware of it, 9, to me, it does represent a 360-degree circle, something being complete and coming to wholeness with it. And it took 9 years, seriously 9 years, for me to get to the point where I am truly grateful for the time that I had with her. And I'm truly also honest about the relationship that I had with her, which were the experiences that weren't so pretty, because she had her issues. She was a child raising children. And when I say child, I mean mentality wise. And the things that she saw, she continued on that cycle in a lot of ways. Some things she did break, some things she continued. And so it did impact who I was as an adult and how I operated. And, she didn't know how to express love and everything to her own children, so a lot of that had to do with her childhood, and then, like I said, previous lifetimes. And there were some things that she needed to deal with, and she obviously wasn't ready to actually resolve them in this lifetime. It took me 9 years to get to that point. And honestly, to be honest, it honestly took me 39 years to get to that point, because in understanding that, because during my childhood, I didn't get why she acted the way she acted. I didn't get the way why she was hot and cold, why sometimes she seemed like she was, one of your best friends and you could laugh and joke with her, and the next time she had an attitude with you and didn't want to talk to you. And then when she was over it, she wanted you to be over it, I had to forgive, and that was an act of also forgiving her. I had to forgive her and not look at her as the acts that she committed against her children, because that was learned behavior. That was something she picked up from her environment, and that was something also that she continued on from other life cycles. So yeah, that I had to work within myself, because I was torturing myself from reliving the things that she did that wasn't so nice to her children, but at the same time feeling sadness at the fact that she's not here anymore, because we still did have good times and she still was my mother at the end of the day. So you have that tie to the umbilical cord, like it's still there, because it's not just a physical. Them cutting that physical cord doesn't mean that the spiritual cord is cut. And to be honest, this actually just came to me. I'm going to go off script a little bit. When an act is committed against you, or you commit an act, and mainly when acts are committed against you by, another person, there is a tie, there is a spiritual cord that connects you to that person. That's why a lot of people, when they are molested, or not a lot of people, that's why some people, when they are molested, they grow up and they might do the same thing to another person, because they have a cord from the person that committed that act. They have a tie. And so in order to break these ties, these energetic cords, there are some things that you have to do in order to break those things. And I've actually been researching about that too, because there are some generational curses and things. And even though I'm working and I'm breaking them left or right, I'm slaying them like I'm Buffy the vampire slayer and shit. Even though I am doing that, I know that there's some other steps that need to be taken in order to fully just relinquish that and vaporize that shit, keep it from coming back. You know what I'm saying? Because it's very vital that you recognize that, and you're aware that it is so much deeper than a physical level. I think we get so caught up in the physical sense. Okay, that's my physical mother, that's my physical father. However, they are energy. We're all energy, and we're all connected. So there are some things that you have to deal with on the spiritual, the energetic level, before it can be fixed on the physical. And the reason why that's important for you to know, the reason why I want to make sure I emphasize that, is that we start getting into the habit of looking at every aspect of our life from the energetic phase, because that's where it all begins. Everything begins as that energy, that formless thing that you can't see. It has no form, it has no shape. It's energy. Then it manifests itself. When it manifests itself, that's when it becomes a physical reality. Okay? So I just want to make sure that I express that to you guys, so we can stop being so focused on what we see in the physical, and know that everything is energy. It starts off as an energy. That's why your thoughts are very important. That's why your thoughts, you have to start utilizing your thoughts, your mind, as a tool in order to manifest the things that you want. It is not the only step in manifestation. However, the time that you use your mind, that tool, that you have, is not for you to overthink and to think about everything and try to control everything, but it's for you to utilize with your will to bring into creation, to make your creation what you really want in your life. But that's going on a whole nother subject. I just wanted to, yeah. So yeah, I had to forgive myself for my mother. Okay. Not easy. Not going to tell you it's going to be necessarily easy, because it is painful to go inwards. It is very painful. And that's why most people avoid it. That's why most people would rather live in the self-pity and the blame and the shame, because that has become an easier pattern. Even though some people will get upset and be like, oh, so you think I want to feel pain? I'm not saying you consciously want to feel pain. This is all unconscious. This is all something that is a part of your emotional trauma suit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have this physical suit. You have an emotional trauma suit that you have been so used to carrying, so used to identifying yourself with, that you see it as yourself. You don't see it as, this energy that you have allowed to build up into this one area and then create this emotional trauma suit, instead of transmuting that energy that used to be an emotional trauma suit and making it the energy that you need it to be, which is joy and happiness and bliss and gratitude and all the things that come from being a divine creator. All right. Now, so, like I said, let me get back to it. When we take on the identity by claiming it as if it is who we are, instead of, like I said, an act that is committed, or that we committed, or an act that was committed against us, we are now defining ourselves as the act and taking on the identity of that. So now we could have taken on, oh, my nose ring came out, excuse me. So now we could have taken out on the identity of being an alcoholic, being a drug addict, being being depression, being a person that, no, yeah, I'll just say being depression, being a victim of child abuse, being a rapist, being a felon, whatever else you can think of, taking on those identities and said that's who you are. So now you have like 5, 6, 7 different, identifications of yourself. So you now have given yourself a disorder, which means that disorder is being honestly, it's just not being able to see yourself as you truly are. It is a dysfunctional way of seeing yourself. It's a disorganized way of seeing yourself. It's literally living in a broken up type of reality. So one moment you're this person, one moment you're this person, and it's really according to what your emotions are at the time that triggers it. So you're literally letting your emotions drive you versus you being self-aware of your emotions and being able to manage them, if that makes sense. All right. Yeah. So like I said, this just keeps us in a continuous cycle of living and reliving the act and repeating it, whether it is as the victim or if it's as the perpetrator. Because in this physical plane, people break everything up into duality. And what I mean by that is you have a soul and you have a body. Okay? You have masculine, you have feminine. You have a victim, you have a perpetrator. You have good, you have bad. You have God, you have the devil. And I can keep going on. It makes everything dual, right? So when you're living in duality, it keeps you separate from seeing the whole, the oneness of everything. When you see the oneness of everything, you actually understand it and then overstand the oneness of everything, then it does allow you to tap into your emotional intelligence. And I will talk about that in a few. So now, when you forgive yourself, you basically no longer see the act as a part of you, okay? And that's the act either that you committed or the act that was committed against you. You start to see it for what it truly is, okay, or what it truly was, because it's always going to be in the past. The act when you are dealing with non-forgiveness, it's because you're living in some part of the form of the past. You can't be dealing with non-forgiveness and it be something that happened in the future, because the future hasn't occurred yet. It can't be the present because the present is right here, right now. So it has to be the past. It has to be something in the past that you have not let go of. And so since you have not let go of that thing, you continue to replay that same movie in your head over and over and over again. That is what the ego does. The ego keeps you stuck in something. It keeps you encapsulated, if that's a word, or encapsulated, whatever the word is, in something, so that you feel stuck. You feel like you don't have any control over it. You feel like it's going to overtake you. And then, that leads to depression. So you start to get depressed about something because now you're reliving that moment, because you keep burying it down inside of you because you feel like it's too painful to deal with it. But it's more painful, sweetheart, for you to continue to allow that thing to control you and to keep trying to bury something that cannot be buried. Not permanently. You might be able to bury it for a short amount of time, but at some point it's going to come back up, and that means you're still reliving it. And that's agony. That's painful. Who wants to keep reliving something, Especially that is something that caused you trauma, something that caused you pain. Now, so, here, I have to think, where was I? So, This is also pause. Now also I want to say is that the past and getting past something to me are related. In order for you to get past something, that means that you're moving away from the past. You're leaving the past in the past. You're passing by it. Now you're living in the present. All right. You're realizing that that is over and done with. That moment is over and done with. You're healing your inner child, or you're healing the emotional trauma bodysuit, and you're moving on and living in the present in order to truly be grateful of what's happening to you at this moment, and also to start creating some things, start co-creating some things in your life that you really want and that's really going to make you happy. Okay, so now we're going to start to get into what emotional intelligence is and why it is definitely a part of the forgiveness process. So being able to forgive yourself, to me, is mostly attributed to or mostly achieved by using your emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is different from being an intellectual person, which is someone who reads a lot of books and who gains a lot of book knowledge, and they may have a high IQ, which has to deal with intelligence from the things that you've learned from your environment and books like that. Okay, or I said our books like that. Your environment, like school or something like that. Basically, when I say environment, I mean schooling, from your school years, or from your work experience, or from, like I said, you're furthering your education by you reading. That type of intelligence is different from emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is your ability to manage your emotions and connect those emotions with others. Okay, it helps you. It helps you understand the emotions that you experience to better manage them. This is this also turns into allowing you to better understand others and allows you to connect to other people on an emotional level. And I don't mean emotion like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna start crying, because when people think of emotions, they just think about, you being sad and crying, but emotions are just a range. Emotions is being able to empathize with other people, because your emotional intelligence allows you to truly feel for that person. That's when you're actually doing things out of your heart, okay, from the heart and not from your head. Okay, the intelligence that comes with an SAT IQ is not going to allow you to tap into an emotional intelligence. In that type of intelligence, you're trying to understand. I need to understand. Could you explain it more? Could you explain it? Versus feeling. Emotional intelligence is feeling it. Okay, it's not the so-called knowledge or utilizing your brain. It's utilizing your emotions, your heart intelligence. So this also helps you tap into, like I said, empathy, but it also helps you tap into self-awareness and your social skills, because again, it builds your social skills because you're able to better understand others through emotions, through what you feel versus what you think. Now, this also aids you not only in forgiving yourself, but also others. You're able to forgive other people more because you're not thinking. Oh, let me think how I could forgive this person. Let me overanalyze what I need to do to forgive this person, versus being able to tap into your true being, your heart, which is what guides you in the righteous direction, and tap into that. That is, you're trying to tap into your brain. When you tap into your emotional intelligence, actually your heart and your brain, they start to work better and more in sync than you just trying to cut your heart off completely and deal with the intelligence that comes from knowledge you gained. Okay. And when I say forgiveness, this is the last point I want to make. When I say forgiveness, this doesn't always include reconciling with the person that may have committed the act against you. However, that may be an effect of it. You know what I'm saying? It may happen or it may not happen. Either way, you shouldn't feel guilty. Just as long as you have been able to forgive, meaning let go of what happened to you and like release that person, because as long as you hold on to that, that's another thing, that's another reason why you keep those energetic cords, those negative energetic cords, is because when you're unable to forgive someone else for the act that you feel that they perpetuated against you or committed against you, or the act that they did commit against you, you're actually allowing them to continue to commit that act against you, because now it's no longer them, because they've already committed the act. It's already been done. You're still living in the act. So now you are in a perpetual cycle of allowing that thing to control you, which also keeps the tie with that person. So it's really a really slippery, slope. And I know it's also can be a sensitive situation. However, I'm just being honest. I'm being truthful. I'm speaking my truth. As long as you hold on to it, that's why they say you still give that person power over you, is because you're still allowing them to control this. You're still allowing them to control your life, because now everything around you operates based upon that act that happened. The way you may interact with your children, the way you may interact with your spouse, the way you may interact with your so-called friends. You find yourself not being able to fully open up to anybody and fully be yourself with anybody, because you have identified yourself with that act. So now you're on guard, and you have this big this wall up against in front of yourself and around you, like this armor to protect you from everybody. When you forgive and let go, you have a spiritual armor that is protecting you, an energy that nobody can penetrate truly. You know what I'm saying? Versus something that they can knock down and has been knocked down, a wall that you keep putting up. And that's why you be like, why do I keep getting hurt? That's because you have not let go of hurt. And you put up this wall and this barrier, and then you feel like you let people somewhat into, or you knock the wall down a little bit for certain people, but then next thing you know, oh, this person has hurt me. Well, it's because you didn't truly let go of the hurt that you're doing to yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's truly the law of attraction. So as long as you continue to feel like you are this hurt victim and that child that was molested when you were 6 years old, as long as you feel like that little hurt girl or that little hurt boy, you're going to have the law of attraction come into effect. And that is not something for you to be like somebody's judging you and saying it's your karma, sweetie. That is just that is just part of the universal law, part of the hermetic law. And until you understand that, it's going to continue to happen. And my true intention of this video is because I want to put this out here in order to be part of your reflection. Be your reflection that tells you that it's okay that hurt you, and that you have hurt over that situation. However, it doesn't define you. It is not your identity. It is not who you truly are. And it's time to let it go. And in saying that too, it talks to me too, because there are things that sometimes I might feel like I let go of, but if it keeps coming in my head, that means I haven't let go of it. And in order to truly move on and grow and be the light that I'm supposed to be, just like in order for you to be the light that you're supposed to be, you have to truly purge that from yourself, and you have to forgive yourself for it. Forgive yourself for it. It's okay. All right? And I'm going to end on that note, my loves. I really trust that this video gave you the confirmation that you needed with some things you've been struggling with. And I really do love you. I really do love all of you. That's, part of the reason why I continue to do this. Not only because I do love communicating in this way and sharing just some things that I've been dealing with myself. Anytime something comes up, it's because I know the universe is telling me it's a universal thing that we're all going through. and we need to let go of it. And like I said, with this Venus retrograde, and I think Venus is only goes retrograde in Scorpio every 8 years. She goes retrograde every 18 months. However, I think in Scorpio it's only every 8 years, which means that really digging deep and getting into our truth, which is what Scorpio is about. It's an important time that we're going through it at this very moment. So again, I love you guys. I'm sending you love out into the ether as always. I know that could seem like it was a pretty heavy subject because it's very personal for a lot of people. However, I did need to get that out, and I appreciate you for watching this video. I appreciate you for liking and subscribing to my channel, Knowledge Butterfly, and for linking me on my Instagram, Knowledge Butterfly, and also my Facebook page, which is titled Knowledge Butterfly, but it is under Empress Rostar, at Empress Rostar, I think. So I love you guys once again. Have a beautiful day. Peace, my loves.